So I'm going to now go through 7 predictions for you, all right? Are you ready with that preamble out of the way? I still got you? All right, all right. First prediction, chaos will rule. Now, among all the things that I am not expert in, chaos theory is among them. I don't know much about chaos theory, but this gentleman does. His name is DJ Patil. He did breakthrough research on chaos theory when he was a professor at the University of Maryland. He's done a bunch of other things since then, worked at PayPal and eBay and LinkedIn, a venture capital firm. He is now a chief data scientist for the United States. He works at the White House with Barack Obama. I asked him to try to explain chaos theory to me. He tried multiple things, but only one thing made sense to me. So I'm going to try to share that with you, and it was about weather forecasting. When we get a weather forecast, we're used to sort of this 5-day forecast look, right? You might get it on your phone or TV or radio. And when we get this 5-day forecast, we all have the same instinctive reaction, which is, why is it so often wrong, right? It's wrong all the time. And I asked DJ, if I was wrong that often, but weathermen, like how come it's wrong so much? And he said, listen, when you look at all of the variables that go into predicting the weather, it's tremendously, tremendously complicated, he said, sometimes. And other times, he says, it's quite clear that sometimes you can do a remarkably accurate forecast for the next 15 days. And sometimes you can do a good forecast for the next 3 days. And sometimes you don't know what's going to happen in the next 2 hours. That the key insight with chaos theory is recognizing when things are chaotic and when they're not, and acting accordingly. And my argument, my prediction, is that we are in a next 2 hours era, right? That as fast as things feel like they're changing, they're going to keep changing that fast. A related second prediction, that speed matters. Innovation is often talked about. Sometimes it's proposed as if it's a one-time thing or a one-time step, right? But innovation is actually a continuum. It has to be what one CEO I talked to called building a cadence of change into an organization. Let's go to number 3. The company of the future doesn't exist. So if you're a small business, you're a startup, everyone's enamored with them because they're agile, they move, right? You're a big business, you've got scale, you've got impact. What hasn't happened, and what we're still searching for, the Holy Grail, is the ability to do both, right? To have agility and have speed, and have scale and impact together. All right. Mobile is the new steam engine. This is an idea that I'm stealing from CEO Hans Vestberg at Ericsson. He talks about the steam engine. I don't know how many of you know much about the history of the steam engine. Started hundreds of years ago, was invented for use in the mines in Europe. And eventually, over hundreds of years, was used for lots of other things and became sort of the catalyst for the modern industrial economy in so many ways. And he likens that to where mobile is now. That mobile is, in the early days, like the steam engine was when it was just in the mines, right? And we almost can't envision all of the changes, all of the things that are going to come from mobile. But it's not going to take hundreds of years. Number 5. Tech will improve the human condition. So this is something that I take almost as an article of faith. Not exactly, right? Hollywood loves to tell stories about how the robots are going to take over the world, right? There is always dystopian future about how bad technology is, whether it's robots or artificial intelligence, right? Everything is going to be bad in the future because of technology. And there's a lot of scare about that. But if you look through the lens of history going back, technology has always improved the human condition, viewed most obviously in our extending life expectancy, right? More time, the ultimate gift that we all get to have. And this, there's no indication that this is going to slow down in any way. This is one of my favorites, though. Mission trumps money, not because of that middle word, I just had to use it. You never know what kind of response you're going to get when you mention that word. I'm particularly passionate about this idea of mission. I did a cover package about it a year ago, if I can get this to go back. There we go, called Find Your Mission. When you look at the level of engagement that the American workers and most workers around the world have in their jobs, it's historically low, okay? But in those places where there is purpose and mission around the enterprise, the performance tends to be, the engagement tends to be higher, and the performance, the financial performance tends to be higher. You don't have to pay people more to get more out of them if they are engaged in the mission, in the purpose of the enterprise. So this last one is sometimes the hardest for people to get their arms around, but it's the idea that there are no rules. When I had this up here before about Fast Company's predictions from our first issue, that line they have at the bottom, break the rules, I don't think that applies anymore. I mean, obviously you have to break the rules, but I think it's more important to think that there are no rules. People want to have a model. They want to know what's going to happen next. They want to know what's going to work. Let me apply what Apple did. Let me apply what Starbucks did. Let me apply what someone else did. Let me apply what Google did, right? But that's not really what's going to get us through this period of chaotic change that we're living in.